Y'all know what it is. I'm a grown man. VLB, grown man move. Talk to him.
It's a remix. I'm a grown woman, so unique. I'm making grown woman moves.
I'm making grown man moves. I done moved out my mama house. I done moved out my mama house. Grown man moves. I done moved, make my mama proud. Hey, I make my mama proud. Grown man moves. I'm in Sunday morning service. Hallelujah, I'm in Sunday morning service. Grown man moves. Now all my haters nervous. Hey, now all my haters nervous. Shawty still up the block, still up the block. Shawty wave, I don't stop, no longer stop. I see what it do, bands make a dance. I'm too busy being a grown man.
Don't chase dudes, don't chase stacks. Don't chase views, don't chase likes. I love God with an H like that one song. That's why you see me with my heels and a hoodie on. Proverbs 31 be the one. Yes, she's blessed, she's wise, she's priceless. Jumped in, all faith, no safe net. Closed eyes, trust God, no regrets. Look, she's a Mrs. Mommy too. Put that work in, pay her dues.
As I was saying before about the disconnect between men and women, right? Like when I was going to these different events and I seen, the women speaking out and they're opening up and things like that. I felt there was a disconnect between men and women for the simple fact that men don't open up. Not all men. And when I speak about anything that I say today, it's not going to be saying that it's every single man or every single woman, but this is my take on men in general, right? So you see that a lot of men, they don't open up about emotions, their feelings, things they've dealt with. You know what I'm saying? And when that happens, that occurs, and they still deal with it. They still have trauma issues, right? They might deal with however they deal with it. Maybe it's drinking, maybe it's shutting down. I don't know. Everybody does it different. But when that happens and the man doesn't open up and the man doesn't even talk about something that he's dealt with, when his woman comes to him and says, baby, what's wrong? Why are you feeling this way? What's going on? And then he don't know how to speak because he haven't spoken about it before. He don't know how to open up. So I think there's a disconnect there. But at the same time, I feel that men and women do connect on a level that's beyond conversation. Especially when it's the one that's for you, when it's a man for you, when it's a woman for you. Those things come where, like I say for like my wife, like there's a thing that in my life, as I look over it, the time I've been with my wife, it's always been a thing where it's a nurturing thing as far as looking out in certain ways that's unspoken of. It's just a nature, it's a thing that's always been there, And those type of things, certain things are just a different connection. Like there's certain things we connect on that no other person will connect with me on or with her on. It's just that way we have with each other. So in ways like beyond just the physical, when you could just talk to somebody or you could just be walking in, you could look a certain way, they could just tell because of that connection. So I believe there is a connection, but there's always some ways there's a disconnect. So I want to ask my men, based on your opinion, do you believe there's a disconnect between men and women?
It all depends on your perspective of what the situation is. If you're talking about something that pertains to something that relates to a man or relates to a woman, it's all about communication. It's all about really truly articulating and understanding what it is that you guys are dealing with and talking about. So it all goes back to communication and really truly like trying to put yourself in that other person's shoes so that you guys can understand each other and the perspective of what it is that you're talking about.
I feel that there's a real disconnect because of communication. I mean, sometimes we don't communicate. We let our feelings get in the way. A woman and a man never thinks alike all the time. I have something they call pink and blue. The woman is pink and the man is blue. And every time you get into it, a woman gonna have her opinion and a man gonna have their opinion. And that's one thing we let self get in our way. we don't always come together to agree to disagree. We get together and want to battle each other some of the times.
It's amazing that I've written a piece that emphasizes men are from Mars and women are from Venus, because I believe that even in similarities of coming from the same place, the same environment, and all of it, men typically see things very differently from women. So I'm looking to really understand that perspective, because I know even conversations that I have with my husband, we're like polar opposites. He's from the South, from the country, and he has his own way about viewing and seeing life, and I'm a city girl and I have my ways. So I would say yes, there's a tremendous difference between a man mode of thinking and a woman mode of thinking. But I'd love to hear what some of the other panelists have to say about that.
When it comes to the connection, a disconnection between a connection or a disconnection between a man and a woman, I think it could go both ways. If there's a situation where a woman finds herself in a relationship with a man that revolves around what I would say room and board, you have a lot of men that are just in relationships with women just to have somewhere to lay his head. You know, it's a survival situation. And then in a lot of cases you have women in a relationship with men as a survival situation. It revolves around security. They both are looking for a secure, an assistance that provides security. And it's all about financial situations, so that's a survival tool. So there's never going to be a connection. There's always going to be a disconnection, because there's honestly no love. Love is not the center of that relationship. Is all about a survival situation. But when you have a man and a woman that's together based on love, like with me, I said that I don't want to be with someone that I need, and I wouldn't suggest that someone even be with anyone because you feel as though you need that person. Find security within yourself and go after someone. What I say, wait for the right person to come about that you want and that wants you, and make sure that it's centered on love, and you will find a connection. Anything other than that it's going to be a disconnection. It'll never work.
There is a disconnect between men and women, yes. Especially in relationships, communication, the way that men and women communicate or internalize things are totally different. And so it leaves room for inferences, it leaves room for assumptions. And when that happens, sometimes it festers. Whatever the issue is, whether it's on the men's side or the women's side, it festers and it can blow up into a big argument, if you will. The disconnect, what I also see is transparency, especially when someone is hurt. They internalize those things and they tend to bring that over into another relationship. They build walls so no one can come in and nothing can come out. So we need to do better in terms of communicating with one another, explaining or expressing what we will and what we will not tolerate, and how we handle things. So yes, there is such a disconnect between men and women.
When I look across society, I do believe there is a disconnect between men and women. And when I say that, I mean this from this perspective. I believe a lot of people have failed in the area of really spending time in their singleness before they connect with one another. A lot of relationships fail in life because a lot of us fail to really discover ourselves and really fall in love with ourselves before we connect with other people. As we see, times have changed and the roads have really crossed. A lot of women have job opportunities. A lot of men are in prison. A lot of most men are saying that there's no opportunities out there for them to get jobs, and the roles have changed. They're one of the biggest issues that we're having now in our black community area is the area of fatherlessness. So we have a lot of women that are really raising the children, and I truly believe that the father, the male, is the foundation that definitely holds the family together. And since the roles have changed, the attitude has changed. More women and men are finding it hard to really be able to build a family because they themselves have yet seen a right environment of what family really looks like. And we having more and more people having children without understanding themselves, understanding the roles, and understanding the idea, the right idea of building family. So when people connect with a lack of knowledge and information, then you're gonna have a lot of miscommunication, you're gonna have a lot of failed marriages, you're gonna have a lot of confusion going on because of a lack of knowledge, all right? So I believe across society there is a disconnect because there is a lack of knowledge in the areas of building relationships, of building marriages, and really understanding the roles between a man and a woman working together to build a family to allow God's heaven to be on earth.
For me, I would say yes. Then again, I would kind of say no. But let's take a few minutes to look at the word disconnect, right? And disconnect can show up in many different ways. Just in the physical, say for instance, if I want to connect this end of the cord to this end of the cord, I bring them together, right? And that's the way of them connecting. And if they are not together, then they can be seen as disconnected. So in a way, I feel like men and women, we have a lot of areas where we are disconnected. But I feel like we have so many other areas where we still are connected. And I'll say this, when it comes down for our emotions, when it comes down to how we think, there can seem that men and women think so different, or men are from Mars and women are from Venus, so on and so forth, and we seem so disconnected. But I would say at the end of the day, the one thing that we are connected on, if anything else, we're all human beings. And we all have feelings, we all have thought patterns, we all have a life, we all have a soul. And I think if we can start there, even in relationships, then we'll be a whole way ahead from where we are. And I'll pinpoint here as well, because when it comes down to men and women, I think the biggest place where we seem to be disconnected is with our emotions. And for men, we'll feel like, oh, they don't talk, they don't know how to express their feelings. They don't want to let it out. They got to be a man. And so a woman may feel disconnected to him when she's trying to share her feelings, or when she wants him to share his feelings, and she feel like, oh, he's not going to do that because he's a man. And he may sit there and say, I'm not doing all that. I'm not going to cry. We going to get, you know. But so what I'm saying is to my men out there, at the end of the day, we get it. We get that you're a man. We get that you're a man. We get that you're macho and all that. But sometimes women want to better connect with you in your emotions. And that means that you have to be vulnerable. And that's okay. I'm not saying we need to pull out a bucket and have a whole bunch of tears and fill up the bucket with our tears of water. No. But we have a shown disconnection, I would say, in that way when it comes to men and when it comes to women. And it's time out for that. Because going back to my thought about us all being humans, and if we look at it, we all go through pain. We all go through hurt, whether you're female or you're male. Even animals get hurt. You know, even animals have feelings. I'm just saying, right? So when we start there, understanding that we are connected at the root, that we are all human beings, and we are wired in some way, the same or another, with differences, that's where we should start at. But when it comes to us being disconnected, I would definitely say when it comes down to us sharing our emotions, and my brothers, like I said, man, shed your tears. And it's not all about you crying and like, oh God, no. But be able to tell your woman, be able to tell your sister, be able to tell another woman or even another man, we have to break this cycle, y'all, that you hurting, like, that really got to me. I need a moment. You know, and that you don't have to walk around thinking your pride is your protection and your pride is the platform for you to communicate in your ego. No, like, you human first. Before you are male, you're a human being. And so my ladies, like, we have to be open-minded and we have to give men that space. And even with our emotions, being able to control our emotions and not feel like, oh, like we just want to throw it all on them. Sometimes we have to do that step by step in portions and have an open mind and understanding that men are so fragile in that area, and we have to give them that space to develop themselves further in comfort and to be that man and still be vulnerable in a time of vulnerability.
I want to say yes. I want to say yes, that there is a disconnect between men and women. It's a little tough for me because usually these are not things that I do for like interviews and for everybody else to hear. I normally do like one-on-ones and things like this, but yeah, there's a difference. There's a disconnect because from the beginning of the time, God already said that the woman was going to be after her husband, you know, so they fighting for power. Men and women created differently. I tell people this, God created man out of his mind frame and his image, but then he created women from the rib of a man. So basically, women are made from the flesh of a man, which means that we were already in flesh, and now they're the flesh of our flesh, which means that they're going to think more in their flesh than men do. I think that sometimes women have a problem with understanding how straightforward men are in their thinking. I would say that we're more logical in a certain sense. Now, you have some women out there that are logical thinkers, so I wouldn't say it like that. I'm not summing up all women and all men in one bucket. All I'm saying is that, yes, there are some disconnects in the majority. In the majority, there is some disconnect because there are women that want that power of the man. They want to feel like what they see these strong men that they, you know, grew up with. If they had a man in the house, or, you know, they had an uncle that actually looked out for them and showed them that power, they want that power. They want to be strong like that because the people that they saw, which was probably the reason why uncles had to step in, and, you know, some boyfriend or, you know, stepdaddy had to step in because they saw the weakness and what they thought their mom was weak with. And now they want to have that power that a man has, but sometimes they miss the strength of a woman. So because they miss the strength of their mom or their auntie that was raising them, they get raised with this idea that women were weak, or it may be because they saw their grandma or their aunties get beat, and they saw them as a weak vessel, but they didn't see their strength. So what happens is they go for that strength. They want to see that strength, that whatever that man did, they want to be that kind of power. So a lot of times they become, you know, overly assertive in either a conversation or in acts, you know, where it's just something where, hey man, you know, you're a man, be a man, I'm a woman, be a woman. But that line is so blurred now to where, you know, not trying to even go to the LGBTQ community, just saying like that line is so blurred now that nobody don't know who they were supposed to be. So being a man today, it's almost like you could call me Donald Trump just because I said something about trying to be a man. But it's just, that's how far gone in left field that it is, or right field, or however you want to say that it is. So yeah, there is a disconnect that I believe that's happening because there are men today that they didn't see a strong man. All they saw was a strong woman. And so they believed more in the strength of a woman than they see the strength of a man. So they let go of being a man and they chose something different, and the lifestyle is different. So there is a disconnect. So when it comes down to strong men and women that know God, that believe in his word, that believe in his spirit, then in them, there is no disconnect because God already said it. How can two walk together unless they agree? So if you ain't agreeing with how I think, and you ain't agreeing with how I talk, and we ain't on the same page, there's gonna always be a disconnect because two cannot walk together unless they agree. And that's that.
I believe it just depends as far as disconnect. And the reason why I say it depends is because I have to relate it to, I have to take it to my own personal self in order to answer a question. And to me, a question is answered truthfully when it's passionate and when it's something that's relatable. So when I say the disconnect, I believe that men and women can make a very powerful and a very strong connection together. I believe that there is a disconnection in some ways, yes. And the reason why is because God designed woman from man. So we are a part of who man is, or who he was created to be naturally, yet we are still designed differently than a man. And so for that reason, a man will never fully 100% understand that design, and we will never 100% fully understand the design of a man. But do I believe it should be our desire to to want to understand each other thoroughly, to want to connect with each other 100% as much as we possibly can. If that be our goal, if we are working towards the movement of progression together as a couple or a brother and a sister and or a group or community of people who want to make a difference, then we should have a desire to want to know each other better so that there won't be any disconnections between us, but that starts at home.
Yes, there is a disconnect between men and women. Men are so different from us. And I know you guys are trying to debate me, but we're going to win anyways, right? And you would always hear it. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. We are never going to be alike. There is a big distinction. So one of the things that you're going to have to do is just accept it and be okay with that. And I have learned to be okay that a man is different from me. So if he's going to lead, just lead. I'm going to lead my way too. So we have to be able to come together though. So you can be different without being deficient. And I'll say that again. Your difference does not mean that you're deficient. So we need both in order to operate in this world.
So this particular question is both for the man and the woman spectrums, male-female spectrums. I really want to know, what is your definition of a healthy relationship? Because that's very important, is to define up front what you feel constitutes a healthy relationship and what are the goals embedded inside of it. Because to achieve a healthy relationship is a process that you must work towards, and that requires goals. So I'd like to hear from the men and the women as to what type of goals you feel individuals should be working towards or have worked towards to achieve and maintain a healthy relationship.
Hallelujah, Jesus. I truly love this one, the definition of a healthy relationship. Creflo Dollar wrote a book years ago, and he talked about a healthy relationship when both parties is willing to give the advantage instead of take it. It goes back to one of the examples of a relationship that, we briefly touched on, basis a survival tool. When you use a relationship as a survival tool, when a man is only with a woman because, survival, a woman is only with a man because of financial security, survival. But and that's a big problem in today's times, and it's been around for forever, where you have people, you have mothers even want to raise their daughters, find a man who's going to take care of you. No, that's not what a relationship is all about. You pretty much creating a prostitute, and not without even knowing it. That's what prostitution is. It's when a woman is using their body as a survival tool. And when you're looking for something, you're looking to be in a relationship of what you can get out of it. You're letting that dictate whether or not you're gonna be in that relationship. How does it benefit you? What are you gonna get out of it? But when you have a person that truly loves someone else, they want to give the advantage. They want to know. They want to find out what that person loves, what is their favorite food, how do they like to dress, or what excites them or whatever, and they want to bring that to that person's life. That's love. That's a healthy relationship when you got two people that is researching, hallelujah, Jesus, almost is like investigating one another and finding out what brings joy to that person, and they want to give it to them. They want to play a role in that person's life, helping them get to that place that they desire. That's healthy. You're willing to give the advantage, not take the advantage, not looking for what you can get out of it, but what could I bring to this person's life? I want to know, what could I do for my wife? I want to make my wife comfortable and put my wife in a position wherein she's glad, she's happy, she's blessed, or whatnot. And I guarantee you'll see a totally different person. You will be introduced to a totally different person when you really truly start expressing your love. The Bible says out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth shall speak. So if it's things coming out of your mouth that's not appropriate, you don't really love that person. Or if you're responding in a certain manner or not responding in a manner of giving the advantage, and that's not a bad word. So please, people, don't take that the wrong way. I'm not talking about let somebody run over you and bruise you and use you. That's not what I mean when I say give the advantage. I'm just talking about being an asset in that person's life, an assistant and a helper. A man can be a man can help a woman too now. You know what I'm saying? I mean, hallelujah, Jesus, I love that question. I can go on for days, but I'm gonna leave it right there. Y'all get the picture. Y'all get the picture.
I would say, once again, communication. Spending time together. Doing things together, whether it don't have to be tangible, just walking around, communicating with each other. Every once in a while, say hello. Not every once in a while, every time you get a chance, call her, say hello, I was just thinking about you. Give her a kiss, compliment her, and believe me, that relationship will be very, very healthy.
My definition of a true relationship is one that God is at the core center of. If he is not in the picture, it is not going to be successful, no matter how you slice it or dice it. And the reason why is because, you know, I always say poetry is a gift, because I honestly feel that way. But everybody has things that they deal with within themselves. And as a couple or in a relationship, if you don't have a way to manage your individual person, then you're not going to be able to maintain with the bumps and the bruises that come along with a long-term relationship or true love. So God has to be at the center, because he has to help you work on you. He has to help that man work on that man. If you, like so many other women, are a woman of God and you have a man who is not a man of God, then you have to be the one to pray for your relationships, that God covers that man and covers him where he is. And, you know, you have to be the one that bless that house and different things. So, you know, I believe a successful long-term relationship is one that realizes it is not successful unless God is at the center of it. And I know that a lot of times people will say, oh, you know, God this, and pray, you can't pray this away. But I tell you what, if it's real, because anyone who knows God knows that he is love. He just is. The Bible tells us that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son that we may live. So he is love. And, you know, those things can, you know, he is able to teach you, to show you, to answer the questions that you have, so that you know how to mend that thing, to work that thing out, who to go to for resources, what to say when you guys are having problems. So, you know, I'm telling you. So for me, that is the answer. And for me, that is what works, you know, and it's what I've known from the beginning. So I do, for me, what works, and I recommend anybody that knows God to allow him to be the center of your relationship if you want it to last.
I believe that, and this is a really good question, because I believe that I want to marry or do life with my best friend. And in order to be my best friend, I want him to be my lover, my protector, my friend, and sometimes my foe, to get on my nerves sometimes, right? But I truly believe in order to have effective relationships, one must be authentic and one must show respect and honor. And one of the things that which is my foundation, there should be the same beliefs. I believe if we don't have some of the same beliefs at the core, knowing what our values are, what is important to me, I don't think a relationship can survive. Because if one thinks that the sky is blue and the other things that the sky is purple, then there's going to be some confusion. So for me, the foundation is your belief. I have a belief in Jesus Christ. So if someone that I'm interested in doesn't have that belief as the foundation, there's going to be some conflict. If we do not share some of the same values and goals, and when I talk about values, I'm talking about character. How is your character? Do you live and walk in integrity? Do you live and walk in love? Because my brand is all world class, and what world class is doing is being those things that you cannot buy. Being a person of love, being a person that trusts, being a person of integrity, being a person of great character. These are the things that you cannot buy. And so for me, I want my spouse, my significant other, to be able to be a reflection of who God is. And when that happens, I think everything else will fall into place. So that's what I would say to answer your question.
So being able to communicate together, having 100% on each other's shoulders of everything that goes on in the relationship, being able to see eye to eye on everything, being able to communicate, and being able to definitely talk about things that bother each other. You know, being able to understand one another, continue to love on one another, and not just do it today and not tomorrow, but continue to do it over time, every day, you know, and show that person that you really love them. But the number one thing is just being able to be on all levels at 100%. That really truly helps.
All right, so my definition of a healthy relationship is that, you know, when it boils down to it, it's all about love. If you love covers a multitude of faults, and love is greater than hope and faith. It's the most powerful thing that ever happens in life. If there is no love, then there is no health. Because when you think about it, Jesus, when he healed because he had compassion. Love carries compassion. When you care about something, I think it was another scripture that says something about it's the love that heals. For some reason it's not coming to me right now, but at any rate, when we have a compassion for somebody, it will heal them with our love. And I apologize, and maybe we'll get it back later. He'll edit all this. But when it comes down to what love is going to cover that. And this is what makes it healthy. Sometimes I fail. Sometimes I am not perfect. And sometimes I'm worse than not perfect. But it took my wife to actually forgive me. To be like, yo, yeah, I get it. This ain't one of our best days ever. Then she forgives me, then I'm able to stand up and say, you know what? I need to forgive me. Hopefully she can forgive me. God forgives me, and we can move on. But if my wife does something and I don't forgive her, and I count her as if, oh no, I ain't no forgiving for you. No, we have to be standing up and say, yo, I forgive you too. Because it gives her opportunity to heal and become, you know, what God designed her to be. So I think a healthy relationship has to be love covering faults. He said, you without sin cast the first stone, right? So that's the first part that Jesus showed love towards the woman that committed adultery. You without sin cast the first stone. He showed compassion and love towards someone. That was a healthy relationship starting from the beginning. That's what Christ did. So we have to have that same compassionate love towards one another that say, you know what, I can cast stones at you all day and tell you how bad you is. But if I do that, this is what arguments start at, because now I'm telling you about how bad you is. Now I got to repeat to you how bad you is, because now we just going back and forth about who bad, who worse than the other. But this is the thing that happens, that in a healthy relationship, we have to be able to forgive. Because if we don't forgive, then it's just going to be a back and forth, a constant reminder of who is better and who is worse. Now it becomes a challenge. Nobody wants to be in a relationship when they feel like they're the worst one in the relationship. So I got to find some way to make myself feel better. Sometimes people turn to wrong things for that. But a healthy relationship is a constant encouragement That's why God said, confess your faults one to another and pray ye one for another. So that's how we get through this. Because otherwise, as I judge her, that judgment is coming back to me. And if she's judging me, then that judgment is coming back to her. And then we're going to find ourselves constantly trying to get our mind frame back, and we're going to use each other to get there. So whether we use each other for the positive and say, look, I forgive you, you're okay, I want to see you make it, and I got your back. But if we constantly, you ain't no good, and we listen to them friends on the side, that nigga wasn't nothing from the first place. You should already know he wasn't nothing. I told you he wasn't nothing. Well, now you know what happened. So now they're going to keep that bug in your ear. So when that person does change, and then now all of a sudden, they keep constantly hearing from you and your friends about something that happened 10 years ago, and now you can't never get over it, that's not a healthy relationship, because now you're going to repeat it. Because you're going to feel bad, and now you got to go back to the same thing again so you can feel better. So good relationships is just like scraping your elbow, because you all one body. You scrape your elbow, it might hurt, but then you put a Band-Aid over it. You put some ointment on it so it can heal. And you make sure that it heals, because you're all one body. But if I neglect that elbow and I refuse to try to give it the ointment that it needs and give it the covering that it needs, then it heals wrong. It becomes infected, and then it infects the whole body, and then the whole relationship.
My truest definition of a healthy relationship is two people who wake up every day making the commitment to love one another. Two individuals who understand that love is not just a feeling, but it's a choice. And the way you are able to accomplish this is by walking in love and walking in forgiveness. And always having a mindset that love is not just a feeling, but like I said, it's a choice. Agape love is the greatest love that allows relationships to prosper. And from agape love, there are so many different aspects you can pull from that word. But that would be my answer of a healthy relationship. Two people who choose to wake up every day, who choose love, and not base things on feelings, and being able to walk in forgiveness.
Okay, great. That's wonderful. Wonderful answers. Spoken well. What I want to do is bring about a question concerning the responsibilities and how I'm going to deal with this. I want, everybody from the opposite spectrum, the opposite sex, to answer about the other side, right? So when I was coming up, my mom, she did everything for me. As a single parent, even when she got married, it was her. She was the ultimate. She was the head as far as making sure that I got everything I needed, discipline, all of those things. I go back to how I was shaped. My mom, she was responsible for everything. I can't say how she depended on anybody else, but from what I saw and what I was shown, it was her. It began and ended with her. If she didn't have it, she got it. So her responsibilities in my eyes was to be everything, to be the all in all. My mom cooked for me. She taught me how to cook. She taught me how to clean, how to wash my clothes. Everything in my life that I am good at, that has shaped me, has been my mom. Real talk. I gotta be truthful. So, my man, in your eyesight, do you believe that there's a difference between the responsibilities of a woman back when you were coming up and now? Like, I believe the same responsibilities are there, but it's just a difference right now in my opinion. A lot of times now, although my mom worked a lot then, so she did everything pretty much. But nowadays, even when there's a man in the house, the woman is still doing other things. They're raising up kids, but they're also growing companies. They're owning companies. They're running businesses. They're doing all those things. You know what I'm saying? So, in your opinion, you let me know. Is there a difference between responsibilities of women back then and now?
I do see some differences in what's required of a woman these days, other than versus in the past. Actually there would be 3 different segments. At one time, we all know the old school thing, the kitchen in the bedroom. That ain't gonna never work. Definitely not in today's times, and that was probably shortly lived when it was. But in my younger days, yes, a woman. I believe that it was more of the original position that when God created a woman as a helpmeet. And I see a lot of that shaping in today's time, where men and women are getting back to our original positions. But a man has to be a leader. A man has to step up and be a grown man in order for a woman to be able to be that helpmate that God created her. And in my time, you will always see a woman want to help a man, because that's already embedded in her. She was created that way. So even when you would see women that was with what you would call a deadbeat guy or whatever, and she takes care of him and she do that, that's because that's what's in her. Now I'm not saying that is right. It's definitely not right for that man to take advantage of that. That's wrong. But I'm just responding from a woman's position. That's just in her. Now today you have the woman that wants to be pretty much dependent. She wants to lead. She wants more. She wants to be that entrepreneur, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there has to be a mutual understanding. It has to be should I say communication in a relationship, in order for there to where it won't be no domination. A man should not dominate a woman, and a woman should not dominate a man. And these days you have a lot more domination from women than you've ever had before. So that would be the difference that I see in women. In today's time, I see a lot of domination, because women has, I would say, I can't blame nothing but man, because women have been presented or even pushed into a position where they have to fend for themselves, and now they're so used to taking care of their own home and leading their own homes, so it's like it's hard for them to allow a man to come into their life and then they just hand over that position. No, dude, you gotta earn it. And you have to be a grown man making grown man moves in order for a woman to feel comfortable with putting her and her kids' life decisions, well-being in your hands. Not if you ain't no grown man making grown man moves.
As it pertains to that question, I come from a single parent household. So the way that my mom raised me, and me seeing her take care of 3 kids and on $1,000 a month, raising 3 of us, that perspective financially definitely it taught me a valuable lesson that this is a strong woman, raising 3 kids. The standards of a woman today raising 3 kids on $1,000 a month is unlikely. So women today, I would say, they definitely have it better when it comes to different opportunities. Job-wise, the field is wide open for them. It's just a lot of different opportunities that women have today that they didn't have, when I was being brought up by my mom that raised me as a single parent mother. So today's opportunities for women are definitely far greater compared to the opportunities that was displayed, when my mom was bringing me up and my brother and sister. So different opportunities today is far greater than they were back then for the women.
When I was young, in my experience, in my opinion, and the things that I saw, it was required that women learn how to cook and clean. Back then, it wasn't frowned upon when a woman said she wanted to be a housewife. The attitude of raising children and being around the family and making sure that the family stayed together was something that was normal. Now I believe that has changed. The attitude and the mindset of every generation has its own ideology of what a woman should be, what a woman should be doing. But now being a housewife is frowned upon. Most women and young girls don't know how to cook, don't even desire to know how to cook. We're living in a fast technology world. So a lot of things have changed that have made us just not for the women but men, but has made us more lazy when it comes to using our hands, or the things that we looked at as growth and maturity. We now look at it and we frown upon it, and we say, well, I don't want to clean up, or I don't want to cook. So the attitudes have changed. I would say society has played a big role in shaping the way we think, and making us think that these things, being a housewife, is not a real responsibility, or not a real job, or something that is worth valuable. But I truly believe, I came from that generation, that position of a woman cooking, raising the children, being a housewife, that is very valuable because you're shaping the mindset, you're helping and you're nurturing the children to become greater men and women, being around them 24/7 and raising them. So, but I would say definitely the requirements and the attitude has really changed when it comes to that aspect itself.
I think that the requirement has changed because we had to submit to one another. And learning throughout life when love happens, because with all the destruction of love, love can't really be destroyed. But what I'm saying, with all the hurt and the pain and all the things that's been happening in the world today, we have to recognize that there's going to be a different requirement, because I have to submit, just like the Bible says. I got to submit to my wife. She submits to me. So we submit to one another according to the word of God. Now, not every relationship does that. I'm not saying my relationship does that all the time. All I'm saying is that when we know that we have to submit, that becomes a different requirement, because, hey, look, I don't never want my wife to feel like she ain't no boss lady. I want her to feel like she a boss. I really want her to feel like that. So I act scared sometimes. Can she whip me? Nah. Maybe in my sleep. And that's why I sleep with one eye open. Anyways, that's just Keith Stupid, being Keith Stupid. It's all good. All I'm saying is this. When it comes down to the requirements or the things that happens now, if my wife want to be strong and she want to be good, she going to go out there and she going to make money. If she making more money than me, I expect her to be a team with me. We're a team. Sometimes the wide receiver doing it, and sometimes the quarterback going to do the running back moves. Or sometimes the quarterback might do that little dunk off, that little pass, and pass it to the running back, and then throw it to the quarterback way upfield. So stuff like that happens. Everybody might change positions sometimes, but we're a team. So the requirements are still the same, that we act as a team together. But sometimes the requirements that it used to be back in the days, women's supposed to be barefoot and pregnant at the house. Nah. But now it's dudes that's just home, taking care of family, because the wife taking care of everything. But those people believe in somebody got to be home. We ain't trusting the world. So let's be home and we're going to take care of our family together. So for me, the requirements are still technically the same. It should be a team, two walking together, agreeing together. If she making more money, hey, make more money. But don't be asking me to be something that I'm not. If I'm the one that's making more money, then you be something. But I'm not going to ask you to be something that you're not. And we can work together as a team. So,
If you were to ask me if men now have it easier or more difficult than men before, and you actually have asked me that question, I would say personally, I believe men who came before us had it more difficult. They really had to interact and deal with the racism more to counter it and figure out how they were going to move. The job options, the employment was not as generous and rich as it is now. With the technical wave, there are a lot of different jobs and different things that are available to the younger population today. Really figure out in defining families. I've talked really recent about my father taking very little and making it much to take care of his family. So I really feel now there is more opportunity for the man, more of a way to really define himself, even coming right out of high school. I've mentored and talked to so many young men about just getting out of high school and going right into college, and in 4 years, you're 22, 23 tops, and you have a career that you can really look forward to. So yes, my perspective is men today have it easier for many different reasons, but it's up to them to rise to the occasion. But I'd love to hear the perspective of others on this panel. That is my perspective, truly, because that's what I lived. And that's what I saw my father live and men around me. But I believe it's much easier for men today. So panelists, please share what you think about that.
There has definitely been a shift in our mindset, I would say, as to what's required of a man versus to back then to now. And I would say in our mindset, because I just think about my grandparents, my grandfather, and stories that I've been able to hear about my great-grandfather and how they all worked in the field. They pulled the cotton. My grandmother was in the house, the one making the food. She didn't go actually out into the corporate world to work, or she didn't necessarily go to her own business down the street. Her business was basically at her household. And the man was the provider, the man was the protector, the man was there to do those main two things. That's what men were looked at to be. They were the ones who went out and got it, per se. They provided for the family by all means necessary. And the woman stayed in the home. And I say that the requirements of men have shifted in a way, mentally in other ways as well, is because women ain't, I wouldn't say that we're not the same, but women roll out a little different. You don't have women necessarily at the house nowadays waiting on husband to come in and husband to, provide and help put food on the table and so on and so forth. You have the women doing it. This is pretty compound because you have so many single women where fathers are not even in the home. I mean, just imagine how many men are not at homes in America or in this world today compared to back then. Now, that doesn't mean that the men back then were more perfect or, they was, up there on the scale, because they still had their issues. There was a lot of infidelity. I think about the men in my family. Shout out to y'all, I love y'all, but even hearing stories about infidelity that went on, they were the breadwinners, they were the protectors, but they were still out there doing some things that they shouldn't have been doing, and that's still today in this day, right? So when it comes down to the requirement of men, I think the mindset is they still feel like they should protect and they should provide. And I think that's why a lot of men sometimes fold up, because there are so many other pressures that come up against them, and when they can't do that, they fumble in relationships. They fumble, and then that self-confidence with them. So I think that it has been a shift, but I think at the same time it also has been remain in the man's mind that I'm supposed to provide, I'm supposed to protect. You have men that feel like, I don't even want to get married yet until I know I can provide for this woman, until I know I can. And I like that, but listen, nowadays it's more of a team effort in a different way. The woman isn't necessarily staying home. Like I said, times have changed. There has been a shift in our society. There has been a shift in the workplace. There has been a shift in our systems. So yes, there naturally has been a shift in us. But I will say this before finishing with this question, that we have to stick to what the fundamental things and what God has called us to be and how God has wired us. Like, I don't care what external pressures are coming up against us and what the world says the new this or the new that should be. We need to make sure that we're still looking up to God and saying, God, like, what is it that you're requiring of me? Like, God still called the man. He called the man to certain things. And one thing about God, he's not a liar. So he's not going to change. He's not going to, I don't care if the Bible, how long ago the Bible was written. It is inspired and breathed by the breath of God, and that does not change. So I would encourage men, and even some of us women, like, we got to go back to the basics. We need to go back to the word of God and really take a fresh look at what God has required of a man, and ask God to help our men, and for our men to go to God and ask him to help us line up to that. Because if we try to line up to society, we'll be lost, because they lost. They trying to figure it out day by day when God has already figured it out. So I would say there has been a shift, but I believe the hope lies in us going back to our Creator and men understanding and getting a notion of what does God require of me? Like, what is a true man in the eyes of God? And us trying to support our men in that, and our men trying their best to line up to that. Because when you line up with what God says, come on. When you line up with what God says, listen, you bound for success. You come out as a winner. You ain't even have to fight really. Now that doesn't mean that life is gonna be perfect and peaches and cream, but when you line up with what God has called you to be and what He has said about you and what He wants from you, it's golden. It's golden. It's golden.
And my answer to that is I'm a Southern girl. I'm country and I was raised old school, so we were, Christian, and then eventually we became Baptist. But everything for us kind of mostly was traditional, based on the way we were taught. I saw my grandfather cut grass and just kind of work hard all the time. The value of hard work was something that he instilled in his daughters, his sons, and then they in turn tried to instill that in us. As the generations change, what you try to place in your children and into generations before, the outcome is not always the same, quite naturally. And no, there's nothing new under the sun, but people are different all over the world. And so to answer that question, I believe it just depends on where you come from, what your cultural background is, what the requirements are for a man in that culture. In my culture, the man takes care of it, the woman takes care of the home. The requirement is that he's responsible, that he loves his family, he loves his wife, he does what he's supposed to do. Are those the values that we should still be instilling? Absolutely. But I think because the times have changed, there can be different changes. Should the root of a man's responsibility be the same? I believe that a man should be brought up the proper way, which is with love, respect, intelligence, strength, and all these different things. Is that in every man today? No. And are we too far gone from, that happening? I don't know. But I do know there's a difference now than what it was before. Those of them who are like my grandfather or my father who passed away, those are few and in between,
I believe that there is a difference between the men that I grew up with and the men of the 21st century. And the reason I said that is my father was the priest, protector, and provider of our home. So the standards were extremely high. He ensured that we were well taken care of, and he was present. So many times, like I've witnessed and I see on television or on social media, and even, just with friends and family, sometimes men of today's world are just sitting there. And the standards have weakened a little bit. And the reason why I said weakened is because women are now coming forth and they are owning things. They are having their own. They are business owners and bosses. I feel that the men of yesterday would not just sit back and let the woman just take the lead and take the role. They actually stand up and lead the way. And I believe that it is a difference. And I hope we can all come to some kind of resolution that, men, we want you to lead. We want you to stand up. We want you to take the leading role. But sometimes us strong women can overshadow that. And we don't want to overshadow you. So I'm talking to my 21st century men. We still need that old school man. That man who will do the chivalry and tell us that they are supportive of us, that they appreciate us. We still need that support.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so my next question is, what is a question that you've always wanted to ask a man?
So, fellas, I think I speak for every woman in America when I ask, why do men cheat? I ask that question because I see it happen in so many instances. I've seen it as a child, where men have a beautiful wife, a beautiful family, beautiful job, house, whatever it is, but they still go outside of their relationship. So what are some things? Is it internal? Is it some things that your mate does not provide for you? Is it an ego thing? Why do men cheat?
Okay, Dr. Avis, you gonna go there? I thought we was cool, right? I thought we was cool. But you know what? Real talk, that's a very deep question. It was well thought out. I understand where it comes from. And I think that question really needs to be answered. So I'm gonna get my man Keith to go ahead and answer that. Go ahead, Keith.
All right, why men cheat? That junk is so funny to me. I a lot of times when I hear that question, my first thought be like, why women cheat? Y'all act like we the only ones out here cheating. A man can't cheat unless he with a woman, and the woman gotta be a woman that he cheating with. So if I'm cheating, she cheating too. So why do women cheat? I would answer this to you like this: why do humans cheat? Why do people do the things they do sometimes? Me, I think validation. That's on real. A lot of times, a man will cheat in a relationship because he don't feel validated. I think earlier we was talking about something that comes down to like the difference between like the requirements of man and female now in these times. What happens is when people start feeling a position loss, they need to be validated. Oh, I need to be validated right now. I don't even feel like a man in the house because my wife, she the man in the house. Oh, she done took the role, so now I don't feel like a man. So then, well, I gotta go out there and get me somebody else that's gonna make me feel like a man. Validation. Same way with women. Sometimes she don't feel like she doing the thing that she was supposed to do. She out there making all the money, she doing what she doing. Now she feeling like she ain't with her kids like she's supposed to be, and everything is going wrong inside the house. So she need another man to help her feel that validated that she's a woman. And she feel good as a woman. And a lot of times when women cheat, they just want to be around a man that's gonna make her feel like a woman. Because when she home, she feel like she the man. So that's a totally different, yeah, right? You understand what I'm saying? So when it comes down to it, people cheat because of validation. That's what happens. Now, you might have some just doggish ones out there that just gonna be like, you know what? Cause I'm a man, that's just how I'm built, and I'm just gonna be a man, and I just need multiple women. Don't get married then. So when it comes down to it, that's how dudes be talking. And then sometimes women just be like that. There's some women out there that just like the male anatomy because they just like male anatomies. Don't get married. Enjoy your life. Do what you gotta do. That way you ain't gotta be cheating. But a lot of times we don't know that. We get so confused between our religious thoughts and everything that's happening. But when we get married, if we're going to be in a relationship, whether you're a fiance, a boyfriend, girlfriend, whether you're a husband, you're a wife, if you're actually in a committed relationship, y'all have to start validating one another. You got to let them know they're beautiful. Because nobody else ain't going to, you don't want nobody else telling your wife that she's more beautiful than you ever told her when she left the house. And women, you don't want no woman telling him he more handsome and more of a man than he ever felt when he left his house. Regardless. Yeah, we might get mad, and we already know what the Bible says. Defraud ye not one another, because you give place to the devil. Whenever you defraud the person that you made an agreement with, and now you're gonna fraud them on the agreement, man, I like leaving my house and my wife wanna give me a kiss in the morning before I leave. That's beautiful, I feel good. At least you think I'm beautiful still. At least you think I'm handsome still. And then when I go out there and the girl want to try to holler at me in the streets, now I'm good, because I remember the love that happens before I left the house. Now, if I was in those moments like I was way back in my days, I get it, testimonies. When I used to leave the house, it was too much attitude, didn't feel good. And then I made some mistakes in life. But that was terrible. And I'm not justifying it, but I do know that sometimes when somebody feels like they're not being validated enough, and you feel like you're useless, you make some stupid mistakes. I talked to my mom and my dad. Dad never slept with another woman. Mom never slept with another woman. Now, I don't know if it's going to go down on their deathbed and they might be like, man, you know, we've been lying to y'all their whole life. But no, I don't think that's going to happen. They've been very honest. Never did that. But one thing I can see about my mom and dad, they validate one another. My mama make my daddy feel great as a man. My mama make money. My daddy make money. But she make him feel like a man. My daddy make my mama feel like a woman. Compliment her. Look out for her. But it ain't no way that you think you're gonna make it through any kind of relationship without feeling validation, because it's gonna make you trip. It's gonna make a person trip. And that's the way that I can say that why men cheat. It's not why men cheat, it's why people cheat. Why women and men cheat, because that's what they're doing. They're looking for something. They're looking for something better. I want to feel better than what I feel when I'm at home. So I need to be out here with this person because this person makes me feel better. So until we start doing that as relationship people, we're going to continuously see people cheat.
I really couldn't answer that because I'm not a cheating guy. Some men I know that cheats is not because they're done wrong in the house. I'm not gonna say some of them cheat out the lusting out the person. They're not looking at their inner self, they're looking at the outer self of a person. Say, oh, she look good, she fine, I wanna get with her, not thinking about what he has at home. Cause you're supposed to respect and honor your wife. And if you don't, and you going out there just cheating just to be cheating, after you do that, then you still have to come home and you're still messing up your marriage. That is an honor between you and the Lord and your wife, not just a binding contract you can rip up and go about your way.
I think there's a number of different reasons that man cheat, but I would just try to touch on two real quick. One is some men is just like, and you have a lot of women out here too, to where it's just a part of their personality. It's just in their nature. It's just they're not satisfied with just being with one person. They like to explore, and it's an attraction. It's just it's like an addiction of just being with different people. It has nothing to do with who they love, because everybody, you know, whether they say it or not, everybody has that one person that they truly love, and that they'll do anything for, and that's the person they want to be with. And just because they may sleep with other people, that don't mean that they don't want to be with that person. Now, on the other hand, you have real quick, you have a person that's in a situation, in a relationship, like I said earlier, about it's a survival tool, so that's no love anyway. So they're being with other people because they don't want to be with the person that they with. Now, thirdly, which would be what I see in a lot of days' time, is you have a lot of men these days, I believe, that's ready to settle down, that's ready to be be with that one woman that they've always searched for, you know, and if presented with the opportunity, they're ready and willing to commit. But because of the dominant woman of the day's time, that needs to have a voice, and I would never try to rob a woman from her voice or her opinion, but there's a difference, you know, where a woman look at, you know, having a voice, you know, versus, you know, just you know, responding in a manner that is not helping. It's not helping the situation, but is driving the situation. You know, it's creating, you know, issues, you know, because nobody's perfect. You know, you have a situation where people have to just remember where they came from. You know, everybody has had tough times, and I just want to speak to that woman out there that just may be in a relationship experiencing tough times with a man that really loves her. You know, give that man the space and an opportunity to be to get his situation together. You know, and you will see a totally different person. But if you respond negatively to that man and you rob him of his pride, or, you know, in so many different ways where you can hurt that man, that will push him into the arms of another woman, because trust me, women, you have a whole lot of other women out there that's just waiting to be that person that your man can talk to, that's just waiting and willing, and she don't necessarily have to be the number one. You know, she'll send him back home to you. She'll borrowing, you know, because she has her lineup. And when I say lineup, I'm talking about multiple men that create one man that takes care of every need of her life, including sexual desires. And she's ready and willing to allow your man to fill one of them positions and send him back home to you. She gonna sit there and she gonna be that shoulder to cry on. She gonna talk, she gonna listen to all his problems, and she gonna tell him to hang in there. She gonna tell him to hang in there, you know. But she's what you're gonna do is you're gonna wind up giving her a lifelong, eternal position in that man's heart, because she provided what he needed in that season. Hallelujah, Jesus. In that season of his life when he was going through, and the woman that he loved the most couldn't understand him. She couldn't understand him, and she let the pressure of life happening overrule her position in his life, which is the support system. And that's not being supportive when you're being dominant or verbally abusive, because you've let life happen and issues in life control the way you respond to someone who loves you and that wants to be with you. And this is the reason why you have a lot of, and I want to be understanding, because women that came from a lot of situations of being, you know, the butt end of the situation, getting the bad end of the position or whatnot, being left behind and taken advantage of and all that. But at one point in time, women, you got to trust God. You know, if you don't trust God, you will never be able to trust your man.
Why do men cheat? To me, that's an easy question. Men cheat because they have a problem with themselves. As men, we were created in the image of God, and God loves us because he loved himself. And the woman was created for the man. She's a helpmate to the man. So whenever a man violates the woman, it's all because of how he violates himself. A lot of men mistreat women because they themselves don't respect themselves. So this, to me, is the only reason why a man would violate his covenant or his commitment with the woman that he's with, or the person he decided to build something with. Men would destroy the very thing they claim that they love because they struggle with loving themselves. So this is why I believe men cheat. It's because they themselves cheat on themselves, whether it's emotionally, whether it's mentally. The way you treat others is how you treat yourself. So that is my thoughts, belief, and what I stand by.
Okay. I'll go ahead and answer this question, and the understanding of there's always gonna be different answers for this, because not everybody is the same. Not everybody does things for the same reasons, right? So, and as you stated and others have stated, Keith said it, why do anybody cheat, right? Now, it's not just a one-sided thing, because, you know, different people have done it. I think it has to do with the type of person you're talking about. You have those that are dogs. That means they just don't care. They out to get it as much as possible. They're not looking to settle down. Even if they have settled down with one person they think is special, they're not looking to just only have just them. Then you have people that have maybe put themselves in a bad position. And maybe it happened maybe one time. And listen, understand that I'm not talking about this as being an excuse. I'm just saying some people maybe have just put themselves in a bad position that they shouldn't have, gone somewhere they shouldn't have gone, dealt with somebody they shouldn't have dealt with, and things built up. And of course, and anything, the devil gonna come along and make sure that if anything can go wrong, you're gonna make sure it goes wrong. You'll line up everything right. The right person, the right circumstance, the right situation, and boom, it'll happen. And I'm not saying boom, it happened like, oh, out of nowhere, but things led up to it, you know? Now, I've had a conversation where some people say, well, men are physical and women are emotional. So a man, he don't do it for his physical, and the women, they might have done it because they was abandoned emotionally. Still the same thing. Something is being pleased. Something is being comforted physically or emotionally. Whatever it is, it's still cheating. I had a conversation where somebody told me, you know, when somebody cheats and somebody who they say they love, they say, you didn't love me if you cheated, or you can't have loved somebody if you cheated. And this person said, when that person who cheated, whether it's a man or woman, it's not about them not loving the person who they're with. This is what they're saying. I'm just quoting what they said, you know, loosely. But the person that's cheating is not thinking about the person they love. They're not even thinking about them. They're not thinking about love. At that moment in time, they're thinking about pleasing themselves with whoever they're dealing with. And I'm not saying that's right. And yes, love should step in. That person they love should step into their heart and mind and say, hey, think about them. Think about what's going to happen. A lot of times, you know, what the Bible says, in the last days, men are going to be more lovers of themselves, more lovers of pleasure than lovers of a God. I mean, and in that saying, not in men, it means mankind, not just men themselves, because women do the same thing. Women have done it too. So we're gonna just go by this whole thing about why do men cheat, and just say why do people cheat. Don't just put it on us. We ain't the only one. Like they were saying before, black men don't cheat. We're gonna stand on that.
I like that as the women question pertaining a man and in a relationship that have cheated, and the woman says that she has forgiven that man, and they've reconciled their differences and they've moved forward. And she has said that she has forgiven him and that things are going well and you move forward, and the female starts to backtrack, but the male continues to try his best to do the things that he needs to do to make the relationship work. But the female starts to engage in things that you start to question, and now you have speculation that that person is now cheating on you. Why is that? If you say that you've forgiven that person cold-heartedly and wholeheartedly, sorry about that, and you go back and you resort to cheating yourself, why is that?
Oh wow, both of those were loaded questions, to be honest with you. A lot of heavy weight to them, but you asked my perspective and I'm gonna give it. First of all, when the question is asked to a woman, why do men cheat? I think it's a misguided question. The reason being, I'm not a man. We're not men, so we can't really speak to or attest to be honest, why anyone does anything. But we can speculate. And if I would speculate, which I don't like doing, but I'm going to answer this question because it's food for thought, I would say it really comes down to the individual. It comes down to the individual, and I also want to be balanced here and say men are not the only one who cheat, women cheat as well. So understanding what you desire in a relationship is pivotal. And to go into that relationship and cement that understanding is very important. A lot of times we don't have the discussions introductory that we should in relationships, explaining what we want, what we're looking for, what mindset we're in, where we are. So it leaves the other person to assume that you're in sync with each other. And we could have a man who just wants to have a good time, play around a little bit, hang out, do what we do. But you have a woman over here who's looking to be loved, looking for a committed relationship, looking for balance and all those different things. If the dialogue has not been had, I don't know how there could possibly be a meeting of the minds. So if I would say anything to individuals, especially if you've experienced it, you're thinking about it, you're in the throes of it, if you have any level of feeling for the individual that you're in a relationship with, it is your ownership or responsibility to be honest. And although it's going to be hurtful, especially if that person loves you, you're doing them a service instead of a disservice. Just speak your mind, speak your heart. Say, this is just not where I'm at. I'd rather call this instead of continue to think you through this. And to be honest, it's very difficult to get past the dangers out here for being unfaithful and infidelity. It's just too much of a risk to run a risk, to put yourself out here and expose yourself and then come home and expose your man. And I was also asked on the flip side, okay, cheating has occurred, infidelity has occurred, and the individuals choose to try and get past it and resolve it. And I guess there's a preliminary understanding that forgiveness has occurred. Forgiveness may have occurred, but processing more likely has not. It would be the ownership of both of those individuals to seek some therapeutic counseling and really try to make their way through. I would say there should be a spiritual component of that as well. It's to understand what God defines as true love and how a marriage is supposed to work and walk itself out. And then to really realize, after you understand all that a relationship is really honestly truly supposed to be, can you subscribe to that standard? If not, and if you know you're not willing, because most of us can't, we really truly can, if you're not willing, why put yourself in that situation and that person through this all over again? Because the probability is high that you're going to cheat again. A lot of times it's unspoken needs that are not being met. I'm not putting any kind of blame on anybody, but I'm just saying, if you have needs of this person that are unspoken and you're assuming for them to somehow meet them, or you have needs of this individual that they're never going to be able to meet, or you have needs of this individual that they're not even inclined to meet, that's a problem. So communication is essential. And one thing you have to be honest about if you've been cheated on in a relationship is, have you truly made your way to forgiveness? And if you have not, it's going to be a repeat of things coming up, of things being revisited. When arguments occur, you're going to revert back to that situation. So it's like a circular pattern of dysfunction over and over and over again. If you're a woman or a man and you can truly forgive your mate for infidelity, I applaud you. But once you forgive them, you've got to desperately seek a place where you're not re-offending over and over and over again. And to be honest with you, that level of forgiveness comes through a personal relationship with God. So sacrifice nothing, but be very clear. But in the end, the individual who cheated and was unfaithful, even if it's both of you, by biblical standards, are wrong.
Fidelity, right? So the scenario is, if you have, I'll use myself, right? And I rebuke this over my life, because I pray I don't have to go through this. Although I have been cheated on in most relationships in my life, I'm just saying, but it's all good. But the scenario is, if I'm in a marriage with my husband and he finds himself to be infidelity, he cheats with another woman, and I find out, and I decide to stay. I decide to forgive him, or at least I say I do, right? And we go through our little trail and we try to move forward. But then I find myself in his shoes. I find myself being the one who is in infidelity down the road. And it would be to say, okay, like, what's my answer to that? Like, what's my excuse, or why would I find myself in that situation if I forgave him and if I didn't want that done to me, but yet I'm doing it down to him? And I would say this, it's simple. Like, the root of it is, true forgiveness is when you really let it go. You have to really deal with those inner issues. And a lot of times, like, when we say that we forgive, there's still an aftermath process to that. Like, you really have to trust God in that feeling. And infidelity is real, because relationships are built on trust in so many ways. And so I've seen that happen. I've witnessed it actually, where women have forgiven a male that has cheated on them, and then they found themselves like, well, you know, and they didn't go into it of saying, like, I'm just gonna intentionally, I forgave him, but now I'm gonna get him back. Honestly, that wasn't their intentions. But in any relationship, I would say you have to keep God as your anchor. Like, you can't give room for the enemy. And if the enemy came in like that already, you were allowed to be in temptation and to be drifted off into sin that way, you better make sure you and him, y'all spiritual life is tightened up. Because if not only will you find yourself cheating, but he may find himself in the same situation. So I believe it goes back to this. Like, you have to make sure that God is the anchor. And in marriages, you have to make sure that you're offering your marriage back to God. You have to make sure that he is the foundation of your love. Like, that he's the one that has you all tied together, because sin will come in. And that's just what it is. Infidelity, sexual immorality, fornication, adultery, that's sin. Like, it is what it is. So it's at the root sin. So who helps us with sin? God. You know, Jesus Christ died on the cross for our sins. So I would say, if that was me in that situation, or another woman, and you find yourself cheating, it's something that's not right in you. Because you can't go in and say, well, I'm gonna do this because he did it to me. Or at the end of the day, like, what is leading you? What is in your heart that isn't right, that's leading you to even find yourself in that type of place, to be with another person outside of your marriage? And that's important. But to the married folks that have been through it, or if you're in a relationship and otherwise, like, you know, you're not married, just remember, like, man, whatever you in, whatever relationship you in, whatever you connected to, make sure it's connected to God. Make sure it's connected to the word of God. Because even the word says in Corinthians, I think it's 1 Corinthians 7, like, even don't be sexually away from your partner from too long. Like, if you're fasting, don't fast from that. But even if you do, if God leads you to, make sure you come back together immediately. Because the enemy will seep in and he will lead you to do all kind of stuff. You got men that cheat with porn. You got women that cheat with porn. It don't even have to be a necessarily physical other person. All that goes back to your heart. All that goes back to your spirit. Where are you really at? Where are you at in your marriage, and where are you in yourself? That's the question that I will have to sit and reflect on for myself, and that I will hope that my husband can too. And as we sit before professionals, as we go before God, and we really seek him, because that's where it starts at. That's the foundation. Where are you at in yourself, and where y'all really at in y'all marriage? And where is God in the midst of all of that?
Cheater, cheater, cheater. There's so many people who have experienced or been in a relationship where they have been cheated on. And I was one of them. And I thought that no one could have cheated on me, because I was like, I'm beautiful, I'm fun, I'm authentic, I love myself. But then there's some people that are selfish. And I was cheated on, but I believe that he was selfish. Not the fact that I wanted to cheat. My response was to try to fix why he cheated, so that we can be back together, which was something wrong. Because when someone does something wrong, you should never turn it back on yourself. And so for me, I don't think that, and I know that there's statistics to prove this, that they said that more women cheat. Women, what y'all doing? But if hurt people hurt others. So when someone hurts or cheats on their husband, their boyfriend, their girlfriend, it's coming from sometimes a place of hurt. And so a hurt person can only hurt another individual. So I would say, you know, even though statistics do show that women cheat more, I guess because we are more smarter, we know how to do things different from the men. And then this is the thing too, though. When the woman cheats, even though the response is different, men can't take it. Women will take the man back, but men do not take the women back all the time once they've cheated. Because I think it comes with some type of pride or, you know, manhood. But you don't want to not be free. You do not want to not cheat. I won't suggest that you should cheat.
So advancing onwards to the topic of self-attending and self-care, I want to thank you for allowing me to infuse these type questions into this dialogue, because I think it's hugely important. And I've come to find that self-care looks a little different for everybody. In context, of course, we want to take care of our physical appearance. We want to look nice. We want to be healthy and all of those things. But I've learned from the mental health side of it that a lot more is embedded inside of it. So we've become accustomed to being very busy. We put a lot on our plate. Sometimes we overrun or overfull our plates. But I think we really are not very good at slowing down until life or our body takes over that for us. Meaning illness is evident, mental disorders are prevalent, and we're just not able to engage life beneficially in the manner that we once were before. So I'm thinking about myself personally, and I do a lot brain oriented, very analytical, making a lot of decisions, grasping knowledge from hearing and applying it there. It's just a lot going on from early morning to late evening as it relates to my mindset, just one of the pieces of my life. So I've come to find that moments of still and pause are very important to me. And even then, I'm challenged with controlling my thoughts and stilling my mind and becoming mindful in the moment. I really have to sit there and tune into the quietness and the sounds around me to take me from thinking about something that I have to do or a decision that I have to make. So early morning is my precious time. I call it my sacred time. When I arise in the morning and the house is still and it's very quiet, it's my time to pray and connect with God. It's my time to meditate, to be mindful. It's my time to write, to journal, to do whatever it is that I do in the still of the morning, which has become so beautiful to me. So I want to ask everybody, because I truly know for a fact, but I really believe it'll come out more during conversation, that men self-attend very differently in many ways from women. And I would love for them to expound on that, what that looks like, sounds like, feels like, and also what do you do to be refilled? What I shared with you early morning is just one of the things. I have a routine habit now, 30 minutes every day, no matter where I'm at or what's going on, even if I have to pull myself away from something or something, someone or something, I make sure that I have 30 minutes of personal time to myself. Cellular's off, everything's off. I'm not reachable for that moment, and when I come back, trust me, I'll be ready. So how do you self-attend? How do you attend to your self-care needs, your hygiene and everything else, whatever you want to speak about? And also, how do you refill your life cup? I would love to hear from the panelists on that.
If you know me, Elena the poet, I say it so often, poetry is a gift. It's how I refill my life's cup. It has always, once I realized it was my purpose in life, is what I've always referred to, you know, to help me feel better, to help me feel better so that I can bless somebody else. It does something for me, almost like plugging a phone into the wall, how you, when at the end of an hour or so, you look at it and it says 100% battery, and you like, oh, it's fully charged, I can use it now. It's what it does for me. It charges me up in a day, and so what makes me feel good is knowing that I was able to put something out there that blessed somebody else just as much as it blesses me. And attending to me looks like, you know, taking some time and just meditating, you know, getting my mind clear, writing some poetry, drinking some coconut water, and just, you know, thinking about God and His goodness, rejuvenating myself and bringing myself back to a place of realization where I understand that even though things in life get this high, that I have to take everything one thing at a time and slowly peel away the layers of what may have me feeling so overwhelmed. Sometimes I have to breathe and bring myself back in, but that's what attending to me looks like for me. And so when I do that and I write some poetry, I am charged up 100%, and I can go a little bit longer.
Self-attending for me is me taking care of me, making sure that I keep a haircut, keep myself up to date with if it's fashions that I like, I try to purchase myself those things. Also, just keeping me up to date, making me feel good, keeping my self-esteem high. Just basically being able to tell me that I can do these things. I can and I will and I must. Giving me myself positive affirmations every day, and just keeping my head like clear of anything that's negative. Things that's going on in the world already is wicked. So just being able to give yourself self-affirmations, affirmations is the key for my success. Definitely keeping me thinking. I'm always thinking ahead, thinking about what can I do to make a difference. I love helping people. Definitely being able to see what I can do to help that person. If it's a homeless person, or if it's somebody that's in need that I know may need help and I can help them. Just being able to give, and not looking to receiving, that's the key. But, just being able to keep me on the up and up, keeping me focused and just always just, understanding that it's more to life and just not just get down on one particular situation, but look at everything in a whole and assess it and make your moves from that.
I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Part 2. This particular topic and question I'm going to speak about, I had a weight on my shoulders because how I feel about it, I have different emotions about it. I have different views about it. And how I feel about it is not always necessarily how everybody feel about every single part of it. So I felt a weight because I know people gonna judge. You supposed to think like this all the way. You black. And I understand. And I empathize with everything that's going on. So with the George Floyd situation and every single situation like that, where there's a black man being gunned down, being killed by cops and racists and things like that, how it's been going on for years. But we're supposed to be in a new society. It hurts. At the same time, when I speak about this, I have to give clarity and understanding to any white person, any cop, any white cop, anybody that may be affected by anything that I might say. Please understand it's not about you. If you good, it's not about you. If you're not a racist, it's not about you. If you're a good cop and you're not doing the things that we're speaking about, when the injustice what we're speaking about, it's not about you. So please understand, I'm not talking about you. I applaud you for doing what you're supposed to be doing. But we're talking about those that's racist, that's injustice, that's killing people that look like me. George Floyd, 8 minutes and 46 seconds, knee on his neck. We watched that go on. That could have been me. Anytime I leave my house, at a certain time, my wife makes me have a second thought. You don't need to be leaving this house at a certain time. Whether it's across the street to go to the store, no. And she's not even speaking about what if I get robbed or stabbed or killed by somebody who's trying to rob me and do me harm. We talking about cops. She worried about me being stopped by a cop. Driving while black. Just being black in this society. Please understand. I've never been dealt with that I can see a bad racist cop. I just never personally had to deal with that. Thank God. But all it takes is one time for me not to make it home with the wrong cop who just feel like my life don't matter. And I need to let this out because I'm bothered by seeing it over and over again and have to worry about something like that. When I came up in a society that we were supposed to be getting better and we getting worse, and it's like they don't care. People in power not speaking about it like they don't care because it don't deal with them. I may have not ever dealt with a cop that put me on the ground and put his hands on me in the wrong way, but it affects me because it could be me. And even if it was somebody else, the injustice that's going on, it shouldn't be. Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. From the White House to the poorest man on the block. We dealing with this still in 2020. And I see a lot of protests going on. Praise God for that. I see the signs going up. Praise God for that. I see people on every side, white and black, out there. I see companies coming out for Black Lives Matter. I see all of these things, but because, yes, for all the things that's going on, the culture is changing to some. So now it's not cool to be racist no more. It's not cool to turn your head and be acting like you don't see what's going on. So part of me, if I don't look at everything that's going on and applauding it, because I'm like, yo, okay, if you were racist yesterday and you change your tune today, yeah, God can change your heart, but that's not what's going on. A lot of these companies, a lot of these people in positions of power over the years that didn't care about what was going on before, because they were caring more about what was in their pocket than the climate of social change. So now, right now, it ain't cool to be turning your head and not worrying about what's going on. So now we need to speak out on it. I applaud those that's truthful. I applaud those that's real about it. But for those that's just doing it now because, oh, it's cool now. Oh, it's cool to kneel now. There's more people that are gonna be for it than against it. Yeah, I don't know if I care more about those, at least the ones that's being truthful, at least you being real. I don't want nobody to hate me just because of my skin. I don't want nobody to hate me just because they hate black people. But I think I might be okay and respect the fact that if you real about that, if that's who you are, don't lie to my face, be real. Maybe we can at least have a conversation on why you feel that way. Maybe we can get to the root of the problem. Maybe you was taught that. And maybe you can change. God can change it. Prayer changes. We need to get some legislation changes. Prayer can do that too. But we need to go ahead and make sure once the marching is done, once the signs is done, let's make sure we send somebody down there that can get some legislation changes. Like if a cop killed somebody that was unarmed and it showed forth what the reason behind it for, let it be seen and let it be deemed a hate crime so that they think twice before they do something like that. I'm tired of my folks going through this right here. But I'm gonna calm down and I need my panelists to speak their piece on it if they can.
Today we sit here facing another tragedy with another black man. Life gone at the hands of a white police officer. We call it police brutality. We have injustice in our world. And I say today we sit here with that another one because there have been so many. And my heart goes out to the families that are victim of this. My heart goes out to the rest of the black males in our communities, in our homes, as fathers, as leaders, as politicians, as police officers. In different roles that they have to walk in every day, but yet they're still defined as a black man of who they are from the root, right? So my heart goes out. But at the end of the day, I'll say this, whether we're black, white, orange, purple, whatever, like it all goes back to the heart of man. And I believe there are things that we need to do physically and practically in our society, whether it's protesting in a peaceful way, whether it's joining a force, and getting and doing the root works at the ground and helping bring about systematic change. Whether it's how you step up into your household and educate your children and making sure that they're woke and making sure that they know what's really going on and that they're prepared from your view, from your eyes. But I would say this, at the end of the day, you guys, this is more spiritual than it is physical. And I'm reminded of Matthew 10:28, where the word of God says in so many words that man has power in a way to destroy the body. But God has the power to destroy the body and the soul in a place called hell. And really, we're all gonna leave here one day. And I don't take this lightly by how we leave and the injustice that comes with that. But I know there's been so much talk on this in different ways. So I just want to take this last few minutes and just really iterate and place emphasis on the spiritual component of this and pray for our souls. Like, our souls is on the line, not just our bodies and our lives, because we are going to leave here. But when we leave here, I believe there is an after place, and that's heaven or hell. And so I just hope that through all this, that we're just as eager about where our soul is going to go. And also, just, this is pretty compact, you know, it's pretty packed, but black on black crime in our communities. And I would say this, we have to continue to do the work on self first. Like Michael Jackson said, I'm staring at the man in the mirror when it comes down to change. If the system is gonna change, if our community is gonna change, if our family is gonna change, it starts with us changing. So we all need to take a minute and self-reflect and look at ourselves through the hand and the eyes of God and say, God, how can I be a better me, and how can that impact my community? So I love everyone, and I'm praying for our men, I'm praying for our women, I'm praying for our society. Black lives do matter, because all lives matter. But we have to continue to deal with it from the root up. We got to go from where it really starts, and that's in the heart. Jesus Christ loves you, and so do I. Let's keep it moving.
You know, when I look at this situation with the police brutality and everything, and what happened with Mr. Floyd, it really hurts me. I totally can relate to it from a young black man perspective, and also coming out of the streets and being beaten, you know, by the police. I want to speak in a voice for those who've been experienced police brutality, who's been beaten by the police and nobody knows. You know, do I have to lose my life for somebody to speak for me? Why do it have to get to a place wherein somebody is killed? Or, hallelujah, Jesus, you know, I want to speak for that brother out there that done been beat multiple times, but he survived and nobody said nothing. Just like when it comes down to someone who's trying to do something better with their life, whether it's the music industry, a political stand, or whatever, why the only time we become somebody is when we are no more? Why do my life has to come to an end before you understand my purpose, before you hear me, before you're willing to listen to me, before you're willing to let me have an impact on your life? Why do I have to die?
Where's the legislation that's gonna say if you're gonna shoot somebody that ain't got no weapons, if you're gonna put your knee on somebody's neck and this dude ain't even fighting back, and you gotta hold down his neck for 8 minutes? 8 minutes? That's almost 9 minutes. And you gonna do that? And you got 3 cops, and all y'all supposed to be trained. Y'all could have already had that man, once you handcuffed him, picked him up and put him in the backseat of the car. And y'all could have went on down to the precinct and had him booked. That was blatant murder right in front of us. It's like a kick in the face.
I am sad. I am hurt. I am broken because of just a group of people who do not like anyone that looks like me because the color of our skin. And I just posted this the other day, well, just yesterday, and I said that I am black on both sides. One thing no one can ever change is the fact that I'm black. And so for me, what has been happening for years around the world and in this country is that police brutality has not stopped and went years without being discussed. I worked in the criminal justice system for years, and I saw the hurt and the pain of my brothers and sisters that looked like me. And as I worked and I sat in the courtroom every day, I saw men in orange jumpsuits, chained, together as they come off of, I guess, their bus and they're waiting for their case to be called. And I said, this is not the life that I signed up for, because I'm a criminal justice major. I was going into criminal justice to help. And I saw a system that was broken. So then I left that system and went to be a child advocate, because I said that I'm going to protect the children. I saw then that the system was not for people that look like me, and that breaks my heart. So even with name after name after name, and a hearing in our recent situation with George Floyd, and this young man saying, "Mama, I can't breathe," and he's calling out for his mom. He's saying, "I can't breathe." Breaks my heart, because even though I don't know him, I have a father that's black. I have a brother, uncles, cousins, friends, nephews that have to grow up in a world that can be sick sometimes.
It's a sad, sad situation that we continue to have to deal with each and every day. As a black man, we continue to try to progress every day, but a lot of days, we have issues where things come up, like the George Floyd situation. It's a very touchy situation when you're a black man and you're trying to do things in a positive limelight, but then you're looked upon as this negative person that is not moving forward, or you're looked upon as a thug, or so on and so forth. And that's not even the case. And then things happen because of the fact that you're being idolized as this negative person in that limelight. So it's a very, very tough situation.
Now, I would never say that all police officers are bad, because that's not true. We have some great police officers. We have some good police officers who are protecting and serving. But what we see more in the limelight and in the media is the ones that are really doing things that are showing racism and hatred. So I believe the way we have to deal with this is from the inside out. Every police officer who's a good cop needs to report those who are showing racism and being hatred and destroying our communities. I believe that the responsibility has to go back into the hands of the leaders that are working within those agencies and organizations to break this negative mindset up that is ruling and reigning in our streets. I feel that is the only way we're going to be able to handle this.
Social injustice for the African American community is truly nothing new. It's something that we've known all along. It's something that we've marched about. It's something that we have risen up about. It's something that we have requested legislation about. It's something that we've cried about. It's something that we fought about. It's something that we have lived over and over and over again. But I said recently on social media, and I meant it from the bottom of my heart, it's something different now in this moment, because the video footage allowed us to see the reality of what it's really like when a person is struggling, when a person is at a disadvantage, when a person is literally losing their life. And you have people who are there, who are committed by the design of the oath that they've taken to protect and to preserve.
I've been beaten by the police twice. I got brothers and sisters that come from Carver home who've been abused by the police. It became normal to us. We just want to make it home. Make it home and get back to doing what we're doing. Now that's the question right there. That's another thing. you know, on our side, there's a such thing as also provoking, you know. So I want to teach my kids, don't go looking for nothing because of what you know that's happening, or because you feel as though somebody is already racist. Yeah, we have racism. That is very real. That is not what I'm saying. But I've had discussions with my mom based on a freedom of speech or a freedom of this or a freedom of that or whatever, and I respect that. But when you know somebody want to kill you, somebody want to hurt you, and you got loved ones sitting at home waiting for you that don't want to see you lose your life. I don't want to have to create another movement because I lost a loved one. How about if I speak now before I lose a loved one, and how about I teach my loved ones how to go out there in society and make it home? How about if I can encourage my brothers and sisters to not go out there and you know, provoke. You know, and what I mean by provoke, I'm not meaning in terms of starting something, but if you know someone is gonna respond to you in a negative aspect, if you respond a certain way, why not come up with a solution on how I can just make it out of this situation and make it home? That's what it's been, a sacrifice. Is all. Jesus Christ was a living sacrifice, and he did not respond to negativity. He did not allow negativity cause him to respond in a manner that will fuel a fire.
A lot of these police officers need more training. You know, these police officers, I don't think they're being trained, you know, in the way that they need to be trained. A lot of the white police officers, I think that they have a lot of underlying issues with, you know, maybe a black male, and they're intimidated or they're scared or frightened by their demeanor, and they don't know how to deal with, you know, that culture or that ethnicity. So they react a certain way because of the fact that they think that this person is being portrayed in that demeanor, but then it's not even the case. So them being able to, before they get hired, they need to go through something, if not even just, not a psychological, that's not good enough, but being able to be in the trenches in those communities before they get hired and dealing with those different type of situations and those different demeanors of the African American culture. I think that, you know, that may help, but that's still not going to relinquish the racism that's going on in the world with, you know, with our police.
To see what's happening to our men, it's like they are letting out each candle light. They don't want us to be our greatest. They don't want us to be our best selves. And it breaks my heart because now we walk in fear. If a siren comes on, I'm like, oh snap, let me get my phone out just in case something pops off. And we should not live in fear. But because what has been happening and men and police officers have gotten away for years. The other day I was discussing with a girlfriend and I said, imagine how many men are in jail today because there was no social media and no cameras. And they are doing time for something they did not do. That they were saying, I am not guilty, but the system was set up to ensure that they get their beds in prison. And because I've done the work and I've been doing the criminal justice, I have a major criminal justice, I realize that it's all planned out from when our children are in 3rd grade. They decide from 3rd grade, and these kids are about 7, 8 at the time, whether or not they're going to go to jail. Another thing that I found out is that jails or prisons are privatized, and it's a must that a body is in each of those beds because someone is getting the money for it.
But you have individuals around. One on top of the individual who's dying. Several who were on top of him at one point. And others standing around who chose not to recognize and respect that his life was worth more than a feeling of superiority. A feeling of, oh, I have you where I want you. A feeling of your perspective on I can't breathe and whatever you're going through medically and all of this stuff, it really doesn't matter because I'm in control. It required individuals who saw that individual as a human being. I sat at this same desk recently. I silenced everything in this room and I sat here for 8, almost 9 minutes. And I tried to fathom in my mind what it could have possibly been like for this man to scream, to grunt, to call for his mother as a premonition to his death, and to have no one stop his murder. I just can't fathom it. But that's because I don't have a grid or a lens for racism. I really don't. Don't have a grid or a lens for conflict and violence, especially after having been violently victimized. I really don't. I understand that it exists. I understand that it's something that I need to protect myself from. But never on any given day would I ever assume that I would watch the murder of a man right in front of my eyes when there were people around him who could have prevented him from dying.
I heard the man sitting on his neck while the girl was saying, let him up, he can't breathe. And the dude keeps saying, but he a tough one, he a tough man, he a tough man. Like, come on, dude. So that's what it's about. Let's not be going through this no more. This is stupid.
But the best person and the best way to stop a bad cop is making sure that the good cops stand up, use their voice, and report what they're seeing and what they know is going on.
What now? Like I said, we've marched. We've done peaceful protest. We've done intensified protest. There has been some legislature put in place. We have overcome in a myriad of ways. We have been introduced rights that we did not have before. Some things have changed, but it is clear that inside of that change, many things remain the same. And that is an antiquated, dysfunctional, troubling mindset that somehow sees a person of a particular color or race as superior to the next. Are we going to change everybody? I'm hard pressed to believe that is going to happen. But I believe if the majority chooses to change, it will silence in many ways the minority in this situation. Positively change your brain. Positively change your life. Refuse to be a part of the dysfunction. Refuse to hate. Refuse to make everything conflictual, and at some point, rising up, yes, but it cannot be our constant way of coexisting. Pray and support the individuals prosecuting and overseeing these cases that justice will prevail. Pray that those leading these law enforcement entities now take a tough look at the training and the protocols and the different things that need to happen and how these officers are monitored. Pray that those that are supervising these officers who have offense after offense after offense will now take a tougher stance. And pray on any given day, if the worst should occur and you find yourself in a bad situation, no matter what it is, that is somebody around who's willing to stand up for you, who captures it, or does something that it does not lead to your demise. We've got to do things better. Rest in peace. Empower George Floyd. Rest in paradise, Breonna Taylor. Rest in power, Ahmaud Arbery, and for all the others who have suffered this horrendous tragedy. And I say today, may it be the last day. Is that the reality? I don't know. But let that be the goal that we're working towards. That no one else has to suffer or perish in this way. Because we simply cannot learn how to respect others for their uniqueness and their differences. We weren't all meant to be the same. But I truly believe we were all meant to coexist in peace. I choose not to hate, because hate is too much to bear. God bless you.
I just want to say today that when men and women consider one another and make efforts to come together and make and create a better unity amongst themselves, we all be better. We all become better. Our children become better. And this is the reason why I brought everyone here, because I want us to create a better society by us having that unity and having that understanding. And when we do that, we can be able to uplift one another. We can elevate. We can move forward, create a better today and a better tomorrow. When I say I'm making grown man moves, I done moved out my mama house. I just believe that the Bible speaks about a man shall leave his mother and his father to cleave to his wife. So if you're not married, I understand, and it's not always about that. But that is the motivation behind what I speak, what I say. I'm a Christian. I believe in the Word of God. I believe in Jesus. But I also know there's things in society that will help us draw us closer to Him if I can tap into something that you're dealing with. Then I can allow God to use me to touch you, to enlighten you. Then maybe if you don't have a relationship with God, have a relationship with Christ, you'll be more open to it because we've connected. God sends man to man. He speaks to us through His Spirit, but He sends us one to another. And that's how we, as a people, get better. We have to show love. Love covers a multitude. We have to be that. We have to be able to extend our hand out and say, if you don't know how to do this, I help you. If you need help, I help you. My bros, we have to be able to continue to say, I love you to one another. And it doesn't mean we being funny or any of that type of thing. It's just saying, listen, we've gone through too much in this life to not show forth that love. There's been too much hate that's been shown to us that we not show love to one another. And definitely we need to make sure that we show love to our women. Show them that we care about them, that we have concern for their well-being at all times. This is what grown man moves means to me. And the same on the other side for women. Y'all have always cared for us. Y'all loved us. And at a certain point in time, there's a point where we may have disregarded y'all. We may have not stepped in like we should have. There's a time period where we weren't even able to. And that turned y'all away. But I want to make sure that our men stand up and show that we there for our women, our children, one another, on one accord. Be grown men, be grown women today and forever. I thank you all for watching. I thank every panelist. I thank you, Sabrina Harris, most definitely, always there, always helping. I appreciate you. House of Love Illionaires. House of Love Illionaires. Definitely. VLP Entertainment. Everybody who supported those businesses and anything in connection, I thank you and I love you. And I pray that whatever we said on this day, whatever we've spoken of, our testimonies and everything else, it helped you. It elevated you. If you get a chance, share this with some others and may elevate them as well. My name is VLP, and I'm making grown man moves. I don't step
to the plate, pay the lights too. As a matter of fact, boo, when the rent due, go harder, pray harder to afford it. Believe in God, no more rent, got a mortgage. Little boys run, things got hard. Grown man stay, we praise God.
Little girls run, things got hard. Grown women stay,
we praise God. In a minute, I'm coming home. Been a minute, let the streets alone. Left my toys as a child, no regrets. We don't play, no recess.
In a minute, I'm coming home. Been a minute, left the streets alone.
Left my toys as a child, no regrets. We don't play,
no recess.
I'm making grown man moves, I done moved out my mama house. I done moved out my mama house. Grown man moves, I done moved, make my mama proud. Hey, I make my mama proud. Grown man moves, I'm in Sunday morning service. Hallelujah, I'm in Sunday morning service. Grown man moves, now all my haters nervous. Hey, now all my haters nervous.
Making grown woman moves, I done moved out my mama house. Hey, I'm making grown woman moves, I ain't stunned what they talking about. She ain't stunned what they talking about. I'm making grown woman moves so she does not worry. Seek God first, give thanks cause he's worthy. Grown woman moves, queens, go ahead and take a bow.